All right, welcome back to another explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we're tackling a dish that is just as visually stunning as it is delicious. We're breaking down Pad Mee Daeng, the classic traditional Thai red stir-fried noodle. But, this isn't just your standard recipe walkthrough. If you've ever felt kind of intimidated by wok cooking, or, let's be honest, completely ruined a batch of noodles, this explainer is your ultimate solution. We are going to literally deconstruct the exact techniques that make this dish the absolute perfect starting point for beginners.
So why do stir-fried noodles always stick? It's the universal home cook's biggest frustration, isn't it? You get your wok nice and hot, you add your noodles, and literally within seconds you're wrestling with this stubborn, gluey mess that's just permanently fused to the bottom of your pan. It is incredibly discouraging. But what if I told you that sticking actually isn't a problem with your pan at all? It's really just a simple misunderstanding of moisture and temperature. Okay, let's dive into this.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the sticky noodle dilemma, prepping for seamless cooking, building the flavor base, and finally, heat control and timing.
Starting off with Section 1, the sticky noodle dilemma and the common beginner mistake. Let's look at what goes wrong so we can understand exactly how to make it go incredibly right.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between a failed attempt and the perfect dish. We've all seen the classic beginner mistake, right? That clumpy, broken block of starch. You see, when noodles break and release their starches into a hot pan without the right lubrication or heat management, they literally turn into glue. But the traditional Pad Mee Daeng we are going to achieve today, it's a whole different story. The noodles are chewy, soft, beautifully coated in that vibrant red sauce, and most importantly, perfectly separated. Achieving this isn't magic, guys. It is simply a matter of technique.
Moving on to Section 2, prepping for seamless cooking before the wok. Because success in wok cooking actually starts way before you even turn on the stove. 10. That is your first golden rule today. We are talking about exactly 10 minutes. When you're working with our primary ingredient, 180 grams of dry rice vermicelli, this number is absolutely your best friend. So the crucial point here is a 10-minute soak in room temperature water. Why is this so important? Well, dry rice noodles are incredibly brittle. If you throw them straight into a pan, they just shatter. If you boil them first, they get waterlogged and mushy, which practically guarantees they'll stick to your wok. A simple 10-minute soak perfectly hydrates those 180 grams of vermicelli. It makes them soft, pliable, and ready to absorb our sauce without demanding any extra pan-sticking moisture during the active cooking process. You want your stir-fry to be a seamless, continuous motion, and perfectly soaked noodles are exactly what makes that possible.
All right, Section 3, building the flavor base with our dynamic mix. Let's see how all this comes together to build an amazing sauce.
This dynamic mix is what gives Pad Mee Daeng its signature sweet, sour, and savory profile. And while these ingredients are very traditional, they're perfectly balanced for a beginner to execute. We start with 3 to 4 spoons of tart tamarind paste, balanced by a generous 150 grams of rich coconut or palm sugar. For our savory and umami notes, we use 2 spoons of fish sauce and 1 to 2 spoons of light soy sauce. That gorgeous color comes from a full spatula of sweet red sauce. And hey, you can toss in half a spoon of chili powder if you like a little heat. But pay really close attention to that last ingredient, half a spoon of vinegar. We're going to come back to why that tiny amount is an absolute game changer. Now, before we get to the vinegar, let's look at how we layer these ingredients. You don't just dump them all in at once. First, gently fry about 50 grams of sliced shallots or red onions in a little bit of oil. You're looking for a specific sensory cue here. Just wait until they turn a beautiful, bright golden yellow and release this incredible aroma. Once you hit that golden stage, add your wet ingredients, the coconut sugar, and just a tiny splash of water. Let it simmer together until it thickens into a glossy, rich sauce. But remember, don't add too much water. You want a concentrated flavor coating, definitely not a soup. Okay, back to that surprising tip from our source material, the secret anti-stick ingredient. You might think vinegar is just there for flavor, but functionally, adding just half a spoon of vinegar prevents that heavy sugar syrup from turning into literal candy in your wok. It stops the sauce from getting too thick and tacky, and preventing a sticky sauce is the absolutely crucial second step to preventing sticky noodles. It ensures that when the noodles finally hit the pan, they get a smooth, glossy coating rather than just getting glued together by caramelized sugar. Which brings us to Section 4. Heat control and timing during the final stir-fry. This is the absolute climax where the magic really happens, and honestly, where most beginners go wrong.
Think of this as the exact choreography of your final moments in the wok. It happens fast, but if you follow this timeline, you really can't fail. In minute 1, your rich, simmering sauce is ready, and you drop in your perfectly soaked noodles. Immediately, and I mean immediately, as we move into minute 2, you drop the temperature down to a gentle heat. Through minute 3, just gently toss the noodles until they're fully combined with the sauce. Finally, in minute 4, right before you turn off the stove, you toss in your fresh bean sprouts and green onions. Let's break down exactly why this specific sequence works like a charm.
This right here is the ultimate solution to our core dilemma, the golden heat technique. Most people think stir-frying always means maximum, blazing heat from start to finish. Well, not here. Lowering the heat immediately after adding the noodles is absolutely mandatory. If you keep the heat blasting, the moisture in the sauce evaporates instantly. The sugars burn, the starches in the rice noodles activate way too fast, and bam, you've got a stuck pan. Dropping the heat allows the vermicelli to gently and evenly absorb that beautiful red sauce without scorching or sticking to the metal.
The second part of that perfect timing is the vegetable addition. You'll notice that the bean sprouts and green onions only go in at the very, very end, once the noodles are fully coated. Why is that? Well, bean sprouts are basically packed with water. If you add them too early, the heat cooks them down, they release all their water into the wok, and suddenly they've diluted your perfectly balanced, concentrated red sauce. By tossing them in at the absolute last possible second, you ensure they retain their fresh, vibrant crunch, and your noodles stay perfectly textured.
I really love this quote direct from our source material because it's basically a promise to you, the home cook. Simple to fry, no sticking, and perfect for anyone to make. By simply soaking your noodles for 10 minutes, using that secret splash of vinegar in your sauce, and respecting the golden rule of lowering the heat, you completely remove the stress of wok cooking. You're transforming a frustrating sticky experience into a beautifully executed, traditional Thai meal.
You've got the knowledge, you've learned the science of the wok, and you are officially equipped to make stunning Pad Mee Daeng without a single noodle sticking to your pan. So, I'll leave you with this. Now that you know the secrets of the 10-minute soak and the low-heat toss, what classic stir-fry will you conquer next? The kitchen is all yours. Get in there, have some fun, and I will see you in the next explainer.